I'm Dr. Mark Hatala, and I want to welcome you to my office. I'm a cognitive scientist who studies time travel by replicating days from the past. And so everything that someone who was alive on a particular day would be exposed to, from morning newspapers through the late night television shows and everything else in between. Normally, I talk to you about December 7th, 1972, but today is an exception because I want to talk about what happened in the aftermath of December 7th, 1972. And so this is the CBS News program from January 22nd, 1973. And the reason why I chose it is because there's a lot of monumental news that occurs on that date and affected the people who were alive on December 7th. So the first story is kind of a groundbreaker, and so I will let Walter Cronkite tell you it himself.
Good evening. In a landmark ruling, the Supreme Court today legalized abortions. The majority in cases from Texas and Georgia said that the decision to end a pregnancy during the first 3 months belongs to the woman and her doctor, not the government. Thus, the anti-abortion laws of 46 states were rendered unconstitutional. More on this story from George Herman.
In 2 related cases and 8 separate opinions, the 9 justices made abortion largely a private matter and ordered the states to make no laws forbidding it, except possibly during the final months. The court split 7-2, with Justices Byron White and William Rehnquist dissenting. In effect, the court makes abortion subject only to the decision of the pregnant woman's doctor. It ruled that states may make no laws restricting a doctor's right to decide his patient needs an abortion and to carry out that abortion during the first 3 months of a pregnancy. After that comparatively safe 3-month period, abortions may be regulated, but not prohibited by state law and for the benefit of the mother's health alone. Abortion is somewhat more dangerous at this stage, and states may insist, for example, that they be performed in regulated hospitals. Only in the final stages of pregnancy may states intervene and say no to abortion. The court's decision, written by Justice Blackmun, thus sets limits on the right to abortion on demand. One limit is the time when doctors believe the fetus may be able to survive outside the mother's womb. At that point, usually in the 7th month of pregnancy, the state may take legal action to protect the unborn child, even forbidding abortion except to protect the mother.
The second story is by Lesley Stahl, and it's about Watergate. And it's interesting for several reasons. First of all, Watergate was going to bring down the Nixon presidency, and he resigned on August 8th, 1974. But at this point, the investigation was really in its infancy. And the story was given to Lesley Stahl. She talks about this in her autobiography because she lived in the Watergate complex. So there were offices there, but there were also like apartment complexes and that sort of thing too. Bob Dole lived there also, if you're familiar with him. He was a senator who ran for president later and lost. The other thing is that she was hired by CBS News in June of 1972 because they had no female news reporters at the national level. And so there was part of a movement in network news to hire more women and minorities. Connie Chung was hired also. They called it the class of 1972. So this is about the courtroom investigation of the Watergate break-in. So take a look.
Meantime, in the courtroom, the government's star witness, ex-FBI agent Alfred Baldwin, ended his testimony, and Lesley Stahl reports.
Attorney Gerald Alch cross-examined Baldwin about his spying activities for defendant James McCord. Isn't it a fact that you thought what you were doing was legal? Baldwin said yes, admitting he thought that because he took his orders from the security chief of the president's re-election committee. At that point, Judge John Sirica dismissed the jury and began quizzing Baldwin himself. Weren't you suspicious when you were told to use an assumed name? Didn't that indicate to you some hanky-panky was going on? No, Your Honor. Sirica, who has repeatedly expressed an interest in whether any higher-ups were involved, asked Baldwin to what person at the re-election committee he had delivered logs of wiretapped conversations. I do not know. To whom did you give the envelope? The guard. Sirica, apparently disappointed with that, said, here you were, an FBI agent, knew this log was very important, and you want the court and the jury to believe you gave it to some guard whom you hardly knew? That was the procedure at the re-election committee. Lesley Stahl, CBS News, Washington.
This third story is interesting because Walter Cronkite is live on air while taking a call from LBJ's press secretary. So that's President Johnson. His press secretary informing Walter Cronkite that the former president is dead. Now, this is significant to me because I remember this date. I was only 6 years old, and I heard that by watching the CBS Evening News that the president was dead. And I thought that meant, I thought he was the sitting president. I didn't realize Richard Nixon was the president at the time. And my parents had to say, no, he's an ex-president, that, presidents come and go. And so let's take a look at this.
Thank you very much, Tom. I'm on the air right at the moment. Can you hold the line just a second? I'm talking to Tom Johnston, the press secretary for Lyndon Johnson, who has reported that the 36th President of the United States died this afternoon in an ambulance plane on the way to San Antonio, where he was taken after being stricken at his ranch, the LBJ Ranch in Johnson City, Texas. He was stricken at 3:40 p.m. Central Standard Time, 4:40 Eastern Standard Time. 3 agents who were at the scene, who are permanently attached to the ranch to protect the president, went to his immediate aid, gave him all emergency aid they could, put him in a plane, I suppose, Tom, one of the president's own planes.
I hope you've enjoyed these clips from the January 22nd, 1973 CBS Evening News, and I will put a link below so that you can watch the full episode if you'd like to. And while you're at Time Travel Simplified, maybe become a time traveler and buy my book, Final Apollo Mission from December 7th, 1972. It's guaranteed. Our motto is, it's time travel or it's free. If you'd like to support my research, I will put a link to my Patreon account below also. Otherwise, please like and subscribe and share this video, and have a great day.